Gratitude rises first because it recognizes the true source of life. Before any request is spoken, before any need is mentioned, the heart pauses to say, thank you. Thank you for breath in our lungs. Thank you for movement in our bodies. Thank you for awareness in our minds. This moment is not guaranteed. This morning is not owed. This awakening is not automatic. It is a gift wrapped in mercy, delivered by grace, and sustained by love. We did not wake ourselves up. No alarm clock has the power to command the soul back into the body. No human system controls the delicate balance of heartbeat, breath, and consciousness. It was God who stood watch through the night. It was God who guarded doors we could not see. It was God who blocked dangers we never knew were near. While we slept, He worked. While we rested, He protected. While we were unaware, He was fully aware. Gratitude shifts perspective. Instead of beginning the day focused on problems, we begin with praise. Instead of counting what is missing, we acknowledge what is present. Life is present. Opportunity is present. Another chance is present. Another page in the story is present. Another opportunity to get it right is present. Some woke up this morning with everything they prayed for. Some woke up still waiting, but both have something in common. They woke up, and that alone is reason to give thanks. The heartbeat in your chest is evidence that God is not finished. The breath in your lungs is proof that your purpose is still alive. The fact that you can hear these words means heaven has not closed the book on your life. Gratitude also humbles the heart. It reminds us that we are not self-made. Our strength did not carry us through every storm. Our wisdom did not solve every crisis. Our effort did not shield us from every danger. God's hand did. God's mercy did. God's grace did. There were moments that should have broken us. There were seasons that could have destroyed us. There were choices that could have ended us, yet here we stand. Not because we were perfect, not because we were flawless, but because God was faithful. Thankfulness becomes an act of spiritual alignment. It aligns the heart with truth. It realigns the soul with reality. It anchors the mind in the understanding that God is active, present, and involved. When gratitude fills the mouth, despair loses its voice. When thanksgiving rises, hopelessness starts to shrink. When appreciation flows, anxiety begins to loosen its grip. Gratitude does not deny the struggle. It simply declares that the struggle does not get the final word. Every sunrise carries a silent message. You are still needed. You are still loved. You are still chosen. You are still covered. You are still called. Thank you for preservation. Thank you for protection. Thank you for patience. Thank you for mercy that did not give up. Thank you for grace that did not run out. Gratitude is the doorway into deeper prayer. It opens the heart to receive. It softens the soul to trust. It prepares the spirit to believe again. This morning, we choose to start with thank you, not because everything is perfect, not because life is easy, but because God is good. Asking for fresh grace and mercy is an admission of human weakness and a declaration of divine dependence. It is the understanding that no one survives this journey by strength alone. No one succeeds by willpower alone. No one walks upright every day without help from heaven. We need grace that meets us where we are and mercy that lifts us when we fall. Fresh grace means today's supply, not yesterday's strength, not last week's breakthrough, not a memory of past victories. Today has its own pressures. Today has its own temptations. Today has its own responsibilities. And God, in His wisdom, has already prepared a fresh portion to match today's demands. Grace is what empowers us to keep going when we feel like quitting. Grace is what gives patience when frustration rises. Grace is what steadies the heart when emotions try to take control. Grace is what enables us to forgive when bitterness feels justified. Grace is what helps us choose obedience even when it is uncomfortable. Mercy, on the other hand, meets us in our imperfections. Mercy acknowledges that we missed it. Mercy recognizes that we fell short. Mercy understands that we struggled. Yet mercy does not turn its back. Mercy does not close the door. Mercy does not say, "You're done." Mercy says, "Try again." Mercy says, "I still love you." There are mistakes from yesterday that still whisper in the mind. There are regrets that try to replay themselves like a broken record. There are moments we wish we could undo, but mercy steps in and silences condemnation. Mercy reminds us that our past does not outrank God's promise. Mercy declares that failure is an event, not an identity. Fresh mercy means we do not have to drag yesterday into today. Fresh mercy means shame does not get to lead the conversation. Fresh mercy means guilt does not get to define who we are becoming. We are not prisoners of who we used to be. We are not trapped in old versions of ourselves. God specializes in making all things new. When we ask for grace and mercy, we are not begging a reluctant God. We are approaching a loving Father who delights in giving good gifts. His grace is not limited. His mercy is not fragile. His compassion does not expire. Grace covers our weakness. Mercy covers our mistakes. Grace empowers our future. Mercy heals our past. Together, they form a divine partnership that carries us forward. There are days when we feel strong. There are days when we feel empty. On both days, we need grace. There are moments when we are confident. There are moments when we are ashamed. In both moments, we need mercy. Fresh grace teaches us how to walk again. Fresh mercy teaches us how to breathe again. Fresh grace reminds us that God is with us. Fresh mercy reminds us that God is for us. We ask not because God is unaware, but because prayer keeps us connected. It keeps us humble. It keeps us dependent. It keeps us aligned with the truth that we cannot do life alone. Grace and mercy are not rewards for perfection. They are provisions for people in process, and we are all in process. Surrendering the day to God is the act of handing over control, not out of weakness, but out of faith. It is the acknowledgement that our plans, while carefully made, are limited by human perspective. Our understanding is partial, our vision is narrow, and our strength is finite. God, on the other hand, sees the beginning and the end. He knows the storms before they arrive and the doors before they open. To surrender the day is to place every hour, every task, every encounter into His hands, trusting that He will lead, guide, and protect. When we start the morning by surrendering, we create space for God's wisdom to flow. Our minds are often cluttered with worry, fear, and ambition. We make lists, set schedules, and map out expectations, yet there is a higher order that surpasses our planning. Surrender is saying, God, I will do my part, but I will not try to control what only you can. It is a daily decision to choose alignment over resistance, trust over anxiety, and obedience over insistence on our own way. Surrendering the day also means committing our decisions to divine guidance. Every choice, whether small or significant, carries weight. What we say to a colleague, how we respond to a family member, the opportunities we accept or decline all have consequences. By offering these moments to God, we invite His insight into our reasoning and His wisdom into our judgment. It is not passivity, it is active participation under divine leadership. We walk with awareness, prayer, and sensitivity, letting His Spirit direct the steps. This act of surrender is also protective. When we release the day into God's care, we are acknowledging that battles exist we cannot see and dangers we cannot anticipate. There are challenges, traps, and distractions that might divert us from purpose, but in surrender, we invite God's hedge of protection around our lives. It is a spiritual posture that declares, I trust you to guard my heart, my mind, and my path. I trust you to close doors that would harm me and open doors that will elevate me. Surrender transforms anxiety into peace, worry into calm, and chaos into order. Surrendering the day requires humility. It is a recognition that life is not entirely in our control. It is admitting that our strength is insufficient and our wisdom incomplete. Yet in this humility, there is freedom. When we stop forcing outcomes, we experience the peace of being led by a higher hand. When we relinquish the need to manipulate every situation, we begin to see how God orchestrates events for our good. Surrender becomes the daily invitation for grace to operate fully in our lives. Finally, surrendering the day cultivates spiritual alignment. It is a declaration that the day will not be defined by frustration, fear, or failure, but by faith, obedience, and purpose. Every conversation, every decision, and every interaction becomes an opportunity to honor God. By giving Him control, we transform ordinary hours into extraordinary opportunities. We step forward knowing we are not alone, knowing that even when challenges arise, guidance and strength are already prepared. Surrender turns the unknown into a canvas for God's power, making the day not something we merely endure, but something we walk through with divine partnership. Seeking strength, healing, and renewal is a recognition that life is not always easy, that the human spirit has limits, and that challenges will test even the strongest among us. Every day brings pressures that can weigh heavily on the heart and mind. Some burdens are visible, obvious to the world, while others are hidden deep inside where no one can see them. In those quiet places of struggle, we need God's touch, the kind of strength that lifts when our own energy falters, the kind of healing that mends wounds invisible to the eye, and the kind of renewal that restores hope when despair has whispered its lies. Strength from God is not the same as the strength of human effort. Human strength is temporary. It can tire, falter, and fail. Divine strength, however, flows endlessly, sustaining us through trials we cannot endure on our own. It carries us when our feet grow weary, steadies our hands when they shake, and clears our minds when confusion clouds our judgment. Strength is not merely physical, it is emotional and spiritual. It is the power to face the day with courage, to respond to adversity with patience, and to continue moving forward even when circumstances seem impossible. Asking for strength is an acknowledgement that we cannot walk this path alone and that we are willing to lean fully on God's provision. Healing, too, is a vital part of this daily surrender. Healing is not only physical, it is emotional, spiritual, and relational. There are scars that time cannot erase, hurts that words cannot reach, and pain that remains tucked deep within the heart. God's healing reaches every part of our being. It restores relationships torn by misunderstanding, men's hearts broken by loss, and brings peace to minds plagued by worry. Healing reminds us that our past mistakes and present pains do not define us. It teaches us that restoration is possible, that God's power is greater than any wound, and that His love reaches even the darkest corners of our soul. Renewal is the refreshing of the spirit, the rekindling of hope, and the rejuvenation of purpose. Each day can leave us weary, burdened, or distracted, and renewal is God's invitation to start again, to rise with clarity and intention. It realigns our priorities, restores our focus, and reminds us why we continue to move forward. Renewal allows us to let go of yesterday's failures and embrace today's opportunities. It replaces fatigue with vigor, doubt with faith, and fear with courage. In God's renewal, the spirit finds its rhythm again, the heart regains its joy, and the mind is cleared to see the path He has laid before us. When we seek strength, healing, and renewal, we also acknowledge that these gifts are not automatic. They require openness, faith, and surrender. We cannot demand them. We must receive them. We must believe that God is willing, able, and ready to provide. We must trust that His timing is perfect, that His power is sufficient, and that His love never fails. Seeking these gifts daily transforms our weakness into opportunity, our pain into testimony, and our weariness into perseverance. Through this prayerful seeking, we invite God to operate fully in our lives. Strength equips us to face challenges boldly. Healing restores what was broken. Renewal refreshes our spirit for purpose and clarity. And together, these divine provisions empower us to live each day fully, faithfully, and victoriously. Declaring blessings, protection, and victory is a bold act of faith, a spoken affirmation that we trust God's hand over every area of our lives. It is more than wishful thinking or hopeful desire. It is a deliberate choice to align our words with the truth that God is in control and that His promises are reliable. When we declare blessings, we acknowledge that every aspect of life, our minds, our bodies, our families, our work, and our future is under divine care. We are not leaving outcomes to chance or circumstance. We are inviting God to move powerfully and visibly in ways that transform ordinary moments into evidence of His favor. Blessings begin with recognition. It is recognizing that God has already provided more than we can see, more than we can count, and more than we realize. Every breath, every sunrise, every opportunity is a tangible sign of His generosity. Declaring blessings shifts our focus from scarcity to abundance. It trains the heart to notice not only what is lacking, but also what is present: peace, relationships, provision, purpose, and protection. These declarations awaken gratitude and deepen trust, because when we speak blessings, We are acknowledging that God's favor has the power to influence our circumstances even before they fully manifest. Protection is a critical part of this declaration because life is full of unseen challenges. There are forces, both natural and spiritual, that can threaten our peace, health, or progress. Protection is not merely defensive, it is proactive. It is trusting that God's power surrounds us like a shield, guarding our steps, watching over our homes, and securing our paths. Declaring protection over ourselves and our loved ones is an act of faith that invokes God's presence as a defensive and guiding force. It is saying with conviction that harm will not prevail, that danger will not dictate the outcome, and that no weapon, visible or invisible, will prosper against us. This declaration does not ignore reality. It confronts challenges with the assurance that God's sovereignty is greater than any trial we face. Victory is the final proclamation, the triumphant assurance that our struggles are not in vain and that God's plan will prevail. Life presents battles, some small, some monumental, but declaring victory shifts the narrative from uncertainty to confidence. Victory is not dependent on human strength alone. It is grounded in divine power. By declaring victory, we claim the outcome before it fully unfolds, trusting that every obstacle will ultimately serve God's purpose. Victory transforms fear into courage, discouragement into determination, and doubt into unwavering belief. It reminds us that every challenge is temporary and that triumph is already written by the hand of God. Together, blessings, protection, and victory form a triad of spiritual empowerment. They shape the way we think, speak, and respond to life. By declaring them, we position ourselves to receive God's intervention actively, not passively. We speak over our day, our health, our relationships, our work, and our future. And in doing so, we invite God to move in tangible, miraculous ways. These declarations reinforce faith, ignite hope, and strengthen perseverance. They remind us that no matter the trials we face, and God's goodness surrounds us, His power shields us, and His promises secure our ultimate triumph. When we speak blessings, protection, and victory, we are not merely expressing desire, we are claiming reality, God's reality, and aligning our lives with His unshakable truth.